On November 17, 2025, President Donald Trump made a big speech. He spoke at a special McDonald's event in Washington, D.C. He chose to talk about something very important to many American people: the high cost of living. Many citizens felt that everyday things cost too much money. President Donald Trump wanted to show that his government was the answer to this problem. He said his plans would make life cheaper for everyone. The choice of McDonald's for this important speech was not just by chance. McDonald's is a well-known fast food company. For many Americans, it means food that is affordable. By speaking there, President Donald Trump hoped to connect with voters who felt the pinch of high prices. This event was a new political plan. Its goal was to get more people to vote for him and his party again. After the elections in November 2024, his party, the Republicans, faced problems. Voters had clearly said that things being too expensive was their top concern. President Donald Trump and his team realized they needed to change their message on the economy. People did not trust them to make things better. This speech marked a big change in what President Donald Trump was saying. Before, he mostly focused on issues like taxes on goods from other countries or rules about immigration. These talks often made the news. But now he put affordability first. He wanted to prove that his economic promises were real and not just words. He aimed to show that his actions would truly help reduce prices. However, the real economic situation was complicated. It was not always easy to understand. There were many different parts to the economy, and some of President Donald Trump's past plans seemed to work against making things cheaper. This created a big question for many people. Can a speech and new political promises truly solve the difficult economic problems that families face daily? This story will explore this question. We will look at the promises made and the real money struggles that people deal with every single day. 2. The big speech. President Donald Trump gave a big speech at the McDonald's Impact Summit. He spoke clearly about making things more affordable and lowering prices for everyone. President Trump started by praising McDonald's a lot. He said the company was doing a great job by making its food prices cheaper. He specially mentioned that McDonald's brought back their popular extra value meals costing only $5 or $8. President Trump proudly said that he was one of McDonald's most loyal customers ever. He truly believed that McDonald's was playing a very important part in helping to bring down prices across the whole country. During his speech, President Trump showed much confidence in his government. He stated that his team had successfully managed to control inflation. He declared, "Nobody has done what we've done in terms of pricing." He also added that we took over a big mess. He made it clear that he blamed the previous government for the high prices people faced. He claimed that the policies and price increases from the previous administration had cost an average American family an estimated $33,000. This was a lot of money, he said. President Trump then talked about his plan to help working people. He called this plan his One Big Beautiful Bill. One main part of this plan was to remove taxes from the tips that workers earn. Another important point was to make overtime pay higher for many employees. He explained that these changes would directly help workers have more money in their pockets to pay for daily needs. He wanted to increase their buying power. What made this event even more special was that some important Democratic leaders were there. This was unusual because they are from a different political party. Among the attendees were New York Governor Kathy Hochul and Maryland Governor Wes Moore, former Chicago Mayor Rahm Emanuel, and U.S. Representative Pete Aguilar, all well-known Democrats, also joined the summit. McDonald's company leaders were careful to state that the event did not mean they supported President Trump's government. They said that McDonald's always stays neutral when it comes to politics. 3. The real numbers. Chapter 3 looks at the real numbers about the economy, showing what is happening behind the political talks. Food prices are still going up, even if they are rising a little more slowly now. In September 2025, food prices were over 3% higher than before. This is still more than the target for stable prices. Prices for eating out, like at fast food restaurants, have gone up even more. Experts thought restaurant prices would rise by about 3.5% this year, but they have gone up even faster than that. This makes everyday life more expensive for many people. This rise in prices, called inflation, affects different families in different ways. People with less money feel the pain the most. They spend a bigger part of their income on food and other important things. So when prices go up, these families struggle a lot to pay for everything they need. McDonald's, a place known for affordable meals, has seen a big change. The company's leader, Christopher Kempczinski, said that fewer customers with low incomes are eating there. Their visits have dropped a lot. At the same time, more customers with higher incomes are visiting McDonald's. This shows a two-tier economy, where rich people are doing well, but those with less money are falling behind. Even with President Donald Trump's speeches about lower prices, the facts show a hard reality for many. For low-income families, even the cheap value meals at McDonald's are now too expensive. This change in who can afford to eat at McDonald's tells an important story about the country's economic problems. 4. A big change on food prices. A big part of President Donald Trump's plan to make food cheaper seemed to have a problem. This problem was his policy on tariffs. Tariffs are special taxes that a country puts on goods coming from other countries. For example, if the United States puts a tariff on bananas from another country, those bananas will cost more when they are sold in American stores. Usually, these taxes make imported goods more expensive for people who buy them in America. President Trump had often said that tariffs did not really hurt American shoppers. He believed these taxes mostly affected the countries selling goods to the U.S. He said that foreign companies would pay the tariffs, not American consumers. This created a contradiction in his plan to lower prices. If tariffs made things more expensive, how could he also be trying to make things cheaper? However, just before his important speech about making food more affordable at McDonald's, his administration made a big sudden change. On November 14th, President Trump's team signed an order to remove tariffs on more than 200 food items. This was a significant decision because it happened right before he spoke about affordability. The food items that no longer had tariffs included many common imports like coffee, bananas, various types of fruits, and certain kinds of meat, nuts, and juices. These foods come from other countries. When the tariffs were removed, it meant these products could enter the U.S. without the extra tax. This made it easier for their prices to potentially go down in stores and restaurants. This change happened because there was strong pressure to lower food costs for Americans. People across the country were worried about how much they paid for groceries and meals, and this was becoming a big political issue. By removing these tariffs, the government showed it was listening to these concerns and working to help reduce the cost of living. It was a way for President Trump to demonstrate he was fighting to make daily life more affordable for families, especially before important elections were coming up. President Trump even agreed that tariffs could raise costs in some cases, which was a notable change from what he had previously stated. This specific tariff removal was a tactical move to address visible food prices. However, it is important to remember that this change was only for certain food items. Many other tariffs on thousands of different products still remained in place. So, while the administration acted to help lower food costs in this area, the overall policy on tariffs, which some believed also made things more expensive, largely stayed the same for other goods. 5. What McDonald's tells us. McDonald's has a big role in this story. The company's leaders have talked about their own problems with rising costs. They saw prices for things like beef go up a lot. Also, the money they paid to workers increased. This made it harder for them to keep food prices low for their customers. Despite these challenges, McDonald's chief financial officer, Ian Borden, noted that their supply chain helped them manage beef costs better than some other businesses. Still, it remained a significant concern. McDonald's hosted the political event where President Donald Trump spoke. Company officials said they were not choosing a side in politics. They wanted to show their commitment to offering good value for money. However, this event was a clear chance for the president's team. They could connect his message about affordable prices with a well-known brand like McDonald's, which many people see as a place for cheap food. The company understood the importance of value, especially as many Americans felt the pinch of rising prices. The numbers about who eats at McDonald's tell an important story. The company's CEO, Christopher Kempczinski, said that people with middle and lower incomes were facing a lot of financial pressure. He clearly stated it was a two-tier economy. This means that rich people are often doing well, making more money and having more to spend. But poor people and those with middle incomes are struggling more and falling behind. McDonald's saw many fewer customers from low-income homes. Their visits dropped significantly, showing a big change in who could afford to eat there. At the same time, more people with higher incomes started coming to McDonald's. This suggests that even wealthier individuals were looking for value or simply enjoying fast food more often. This change in customers at a place like McDonald's shows a big problem in the country's economy. McDonald's has always been a known place for people to get food at a low price. For a long time, the company built its business on offering budget-friendly options, like the popular dollar menu in the past. It even brought back special value meals for $5 and $8 to try and get its price-sensitive customers back. But for many low-income families, even these new deals were too much. When people can no longer afford even basic fast food, it means they are having serious trouble paying for everyday needs like housing, groceries, and transportation. The shift in who eats at McDonald's is a strong signal that parts of the country are facing deep economic problems. It highlights that the cost of living is still a huge worry for many families, showing a growing gap between different income groups. 6. The other side of the story. Democrats quickly responded to President Donald Trump's new message about making things more affordable. They argued that, contrary to his claims, his government's policies were actually helping large corporations and wealthy individuals, not average working families. Democrats described the current economic situation as a gilded recession. This term suggests that while the rich and big businesses might prosper, ordinary people are struggling with high prices and stagnant wages. The Democratic National Committee made it clear that they would make affordability a key issue for the 2026 elections. They plan to highlight how President Trump's policies, such as certain tax cuts, seem to favor companies. They also looked closely at his recent decision to remove tariffs on more than 200 food items. Some Democratic analysts said this action was a quiet way for the administration to admit that its earlier tariff policies had actually made goods more expensive for American consumers. Independent economists like Marissa Di Natale from Moody's Analytics agreed with this assessment. She explained that tariffs often place a greater burden on people with lower incomes because they spend a larger part of their money on basic goods that become more costly due to these taxes. Even though some tariffs were removed, many others remained on various imported products. This suggested a selective approach aimed more at political advantage than a full change in policy. Meanwhile, the Republican Party was having its own discussions following disappointing election results in November 2025. The party had lost important races in several states, including Georgia, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Virginia. Analysts believed these losses were largely because voters were deeply concerned about the rising cost of living. Despite these setbacks, a spokesperson for the Republican National Committee insisted that the party was more united behind President Donald Trump than ever before. They stated that supporting him was the best path to future victories. However, this view was not shared by all Republicans. Representative Elise Stefanik, a known supporter of President Trump, pointed out that her constituents were very worried about high taxes and spending, the unaffordability of daily life. She emphasized that these economic issues were top of mind for voters. Republican strategist Doug Heye also expressed caution. He warned that the Republican Party needed to show voters they truly understood their financial difficulties and were actively trying to find solutions. Heye suggested that President Trump's current strategy might not be beneficial for all Republican candidates running for office, particularly if it didn't directly address everyday economic pains. 7. A look at the past. Chapter 7 looks back in time to understand today's economic problems. Many people remember the high cost of living under the previous president, Joe Biden. During his time, from 2021 to 2022, prices went up a lot. This rise in prices, called inflation, made many families worry about their money. There were many complex reasons for this inflation. One big reason was the global pandemic. The pandemic caused factories to close and made it difficult to transport goods around the world. This created major problems with supply chains. Goods could not move easily, so there were fewer products for people to buy. At the same time, the government provided financial help to people. This money helped many families survive difficult times. However, it also meant people had more money to spend. When many people want to buy things but there are not enough things to sell, prices naturally go up. The country's central bank, known as the Federal Reserve, also reacted slowly to these changes. It took some time for them to raise interest rates, which is a tool used to slow down price increases. If interest rates had risen faster, prices might not have gone up as quickly. Other global issues, such as a sudden rise in energy prices and disruptions in international trade, also pushed prices higher. These worldwide events added to the challenges people faced at home. Food prices, in particular, saw a very sharp increase. Groceries became much more expensive, rising by over 20% in just 2 years. This was the biggest jump in food costs since the 1980s. Families with less money felt these price increases the most. They had to spend a larger part of their income on basic needs like food, housing, and transportation. This made life very hard for them. Government policies related to people coming into the country, called immigration policies, can also impact food prices. When there are fewer workers available for farms and food processing, it can make food more expensive to produce. This is because labor costs go up. Also, policies about buying and selling goods with other countries, known as international trade policies, can affect prices. For example, if taxes, tariffs, are placed on imported foods like fresh fruits or vegetables, the prices of these items in local stores can increase. The United States imports a large amount of fresh produce, so these tariffs have a direct effect on what people pay. By looking at these past events and different policies, we can get a clearer picture of why things are expensive today. The effects of the pandemic, government financial aid, central bank actions, and policies on immigration and international trade all play a role in the economic situation we see now. Understanding this history helps us better understand the challenges people still face every day when they buy food or pay for their daily lives. R08, the final message. President Donald Trump's plan to make things cheaper for Americans became clear. He gave speeches and visited places like McDonald's to show that his government was working to lower prices. He talked about new policies and how the economy was getting better under his leadership. His main message was that he would help families save money, especially after the country had faced high prices before. However, there were limits to what these speeches and promises could do. The country still had many hard money problems. For example, even though McDonald's brought back cheaper meals, fewer people with low incomes were eating there. This showed that for many families, prices for everyday things were still too high, and a $5 meal was sometimes still too much. The idea of a two-tier economy meant that rich people were doing fine, but many others were falling behind. Using just one company like McDonald's to talk about the whole economy could be misleading. What was true for one fast food chain might not be true for all other costs, like housing, gas, or other groceries. People's daily lives were still very expensive, even if some items became a little cheaper. Many families still struggled to pay for everything they needed. As the country looked forward to the 2026 midterm elections, a big question remained. Would voters believe the promises and good words from politicians, or would they vote based on what they actually felt in their wallets and how much money they had left after paying their bills? The coming elections would show if people trusted the political messages or their own real-life experiences with money. What do you think matters more to voters, a politician's words or their personal finances?
Hey there! Just a second before you go. If you learned something new today, please give this video a like, write your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to the channel. It only takes a second, and it really, really helps to create even better English videos for you. Your support means the world. Thank you.